Welcome back everybody. So today I am making my favorite soup of all time. It's a Vietnamese alphabet soup. I'm not quite sure of the name of this soup because this is a story of immigration in a way, using a bunch of things to substitute other things. The story of the soup, coming from someone that I trust, is that during the 70s, a bunch of Vietnamese people came to Southern California and they mostly shopped at Mexican grocery stores because the ingredients closely parallel Vietnamese ingredients, and also because that was what was available, so the resources that they had in hand. So I just got back from the Mexican market by my house and I picked up all the ingredients to make the soup, and it takes no longer than 30 minutes. And I'm just gonna get started. There's tons of green onion, alphabet noodles, obviously. This is what I'm using. If you can't find alphabet noodles, just use any small noodles or macaroni. I've seen it substitute so many different ways. You can also just use rice and make sort of a congee style situation. You're gonna need a lot of shallots, cilantro, oil, salt, pepper, mushroom powder. I got this from my sister and I think she got this at Costco. But if you don't have mushroom powder, if you don't have access to it, then just get chicken stock or vegetable stock and substitute it. First thing I'm gonna do is wash my hands, obviously, so I'm gonna bring it over here. And also you'll need ground beef, obviously. This ground beef is from Costco. I'm using 85% lean, 15% fat. Yeah, so this is the ground beef. I'm gonna slice up 2 shallots and I'm just gonna roughly dice it. I need a trash bowl, don't I? This could be my trash bowl. Okay, so there's a restaurant in Orange County that I think still serves this dish, and it's called Ba Bai Mong, which translates to 7 courses of beef. And when I was growing up in Orange County, my grandpa used to leave the Vietnamese radio on, and they always had commercials for this restaurant. And I cannot find it for the life of me, but it goes Ba Bai Mong to Ba Bai Mong to Ba Bai Mong to Ba. And it almost sounds like the SpongeBob theme song, because at the end of it goes do 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 do. Anyway, what I'm doing here is just slicing up dicing up the shallots. I'm adding 2 shallots because the last time I made this, I did 2 shallots and it was fantastic. So you do get like a wild oniony flavor, but I mean, I'm here for it. If you're not into onions, then this is not the soup for you. Yeah, Jason just fixed this cutting board. I've had it for years, and really I was gonna toss it because it was split down the center. And he took it apart and re-doweled it together and also glued it together and then sanded it down, leveled it out. Add legs to it, and now it's like a new thing. So I need to stop throwing things out that can be used again. I think it's time to sharpen my knives again too. There's a farmer's market near my house, and on Sundays this guy who sharpens knives comes out, and so while you sharpen, or while you shop, the guy will sharpen your knives. And I've heard so many great reviews on him, but I haven't tried him. If you've gone to the guy in Atwater to sharpen your knives, let me know. One of my first jobs ever was at a vegetarian restaurant, and it was for food prep. And the first job at that job was to chop hella onions, and at the time I was really good at it, only because I think because I wore contacts and everyone else was like crying and stuff, and I was totally fine. So the oniony sting didn't get to my eyes, and then they just made me chop onions for days and days and weeks and months, and such is life, I guess. To that we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. This is my favorite fish sauce right now. This is Red Boat. You know what? Let's do the dry ingredients first. Oh, I like to have the recipe printed out and like put on this clipboard so that I can either hang it up or tape it right here so I can take a look at it, you know? Yeah, and then continue writing notes on it if I need to. And so I think I'm gonna do the dry ingredients first. So it's 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt in here. Some ground black pepper. I have white pepper and black pepper. I'm gonna do about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. And we're gonna use a lot of this later for a topping as well. So set that aside. 1 tablespoon of sugar. I do have, oh my gosh, I have palm sugar in here and I just have like the rest of it. So I'm just gonna put that in. I'm only using this palm sugar because I know I need to use it up because I've had it for a while. It's still good, but like I get sketched having ingredients in my pantry for too long. Okay, so I'm gonna need a tablespoon of that. Just do a heaping tablespoon. Oh, wrong bowl, right here. A tablespoon of mushroom seasoning, or chicken bouillon, or vegetable bouillon, if you have it. Set that aside because I'm gonna need it later. And then 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. In a Vietnamese household, the fish sauce is like a bottle of fine wine to some people. They're like, oh, look at this reserve, like, and they hold it out like this and stuff. I remember my mom bought a case of a fancy fish sauce once, and then I think she kept it out in direct sunlight for a while to crystallize, or I don't know what, but I remember being a child and being like, damn, this is fancy. It's not, it's fish sauce. And then mix everything up. And the thing is, you want to set this aside to kind of meld the flavors for about 15 minutes. So while that's happening, make sure you mix it up really well. Okay, now I'm gonna make some fried shallots. You don't have to do this part, you can totally skip this part. A lot of Asian markets will sell fried shallots. To me, this topping is an absolute must, but a lot of people say it's optional, so you do you. I'm gonna grab a mandolin too to help me get some even strips. In the meantime, I'm gonna heat up some oil to fry the shallots. Let's do that. It's not really that big of a deal if you use a fancy oil or a cheap oil. This is avocado oil. I'm gonna use avocado oil, and what I'm gonna do is just run it through a coffee filter afterwards so that I can reuse the oil again, because it's gonna be flavored like shallots. So it's gonna be tasty. This is a Ben Reiner mandolin, and I've had this for years. It's fantastic. You can even take the blade out and sharpen it later on. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna do this, but obviously leave the ends on so you have something to grip onto. Beautiful. Maybe a little bit thinner actually. Let's see. I tried to cheat this by frying it in the air fryer, coating everything in oil and then frying it in the air fryer, and that was not worth the trouble. So just let it, you know, do its thing for a little bit. I like to have a plate with some paper towel next to it so that once I get it out, I can drain it directly onto the plate. This is a little bit toastier than I wanted, but I mean, it still works. It still tastes really good. This frying part will take about like 5 minutes. So I'm gonna get my Chemex ready for the oil. In the meantime, let's see what I have already prepped. So usually whenever I buy green onion or cilantro, I just kind of batch prep everything. Oh, you know what? I have a healthy amount of green onion here. Yeah, that's fine. Cilantro. Yes. Okay, plenty of cilantro, plenty of green onion, perfect toppings. So back to that story about the 70s. So this is, you know, all the ingredients are from a Mexican market because that's the closest market, ethnic market that was available to Vietnamese people. And that's kind of how I feel now, because I don't live that close to an Asian market, so I do shop at the Mexican market right around the corner from my house once or twice a week. So I love that I can go in there and just find exactly what I need to make this Vietnamese soup that is using ingredients that were available to us. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And the other thing is that this is so hard to find in a Vietnamese restaurant now. You can still find it here and there, but it's not as available now, because when you go to a Vietnamese market, you think of pho or bún bò Huế, and this isn't on the list because now Asian markets, Vietnamese markets are so much more widely available. So I feel like the soup is kind of dying out in a sense, but I still love it, and it makes me feel like a warm bowl of nostalgia. When I was a kid, my mom used to sit around and make a bunch of this fried shallots, like a huge batch of it, and my uncle would come and just like take a handful and eat it. It would piss her off because like we need it for toppings obviously, but also because it's so tasty that you just want to snack on it as if it's chips, but you have to save it for your toppings. I finished all the shallots, which, you know, it came out a little bit darker again than I wanted it to, but I think it's still good. Pour this into my Chemex. And so that I can reuse that oil. And I'm gonna want like 3 tablespoons of that to go back into the pot so that I can cook my meat. I know someone's gonna say something about this, but I am going to clean the Chemex. Don't be a narc. Pour the meat in. I'm gonna let this cook up and brown slightly, and then add in some boiling water. I'm gonna bring some water to a boil right now. I just poured in about 10 cups of water here. Bringing it up to a boil. And to this, actually I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna I ended up pouring my shallot oil in here. So I have that for later. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So this, 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is about that much. And then 2 to 3 teaspoons of mushroom seasoning or chicken stock or vegetable stock, whatever you have. And then let's boil some water to cook the alphabet pasta. 9 to 11 minutes, so we'll do around 7 minutes because it's gonna continue cooking in the soup anyway, so yeah. Okay, so I just dumped the cooked pasta back in here. All right, it's time to plate, so I'm gonna do this guy right here. I'll show you up close. So we got the soup. Oh my God, look at that. Some cilantro, green onion, of course, some fried shallots, lots of black pepper, and maybe a hit of white pepper as well. So this is it. It's kind of like congee. Oh my God, look how pretty. All right, let's try this. Oh, still super hot. Oh, perfect amount of salty and sweetness. It's perfectly balanced. And I thought that the shallots were overcooked a little bit, but really they're not. They're pretty perfect here. This is incredibly comforting and nourishing. Obviously the shallots don't stay crispy, but it's still delicious in my book. And with the toppings, obviously you can adjust as much as you like, and also add other things in here too. So you could add mushrooms, potatoes, carrots, whatever you'd like. This is just the base of the recipe. Sometimes people substitute rice in if they don't have alphabet letters, or macaroni even. It's just a nice base, okay? Right, so this is my favorite soup at the moment. I hope you try this recipe, and if you do, please let me know, send me a pic. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.